The headlines for tonight: Malacanang Palace responded to Nicholas Kaufman's claim on alleged drug-related killings under the current administration.
House Justice Committee will start the deliberation of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment wraps next week.
The Philippines, Japan, and United States conducted the 15th multilateral maritime cooperative activity in the West Philippine Sea.
President Marcos names new environment chief as he reappoints Rafael Lotilla as Philippine ambassador to Vatican City.
The next trilateral talks for Ukraine-Russia war will likely begin in March, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Good evening, bringing you the latest news for tonight. I am ALVIN, PELOBELLO.
And I am KRIZZA Lopez. This is Eurotv News Thread. The details on our broadcast. The Malacanang has responded to claims made by Duterte's legal counsel that drug-related killings continue under the administration of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Palace officials said any such allegations must be backed by evidences and investigated by proper authorities, reiterating that the current does not support a violent anti-drug campaign. More from this report.
Pag-amin ba yun na talaga may patayan sa panahon ni dating Pangulong Duterte?
Malacanang pushed back against the argument of Duterte's legal counsel, Attorney Nicholas Kaufman, that drug-related killings continue to rise under the administration of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. According to Palace Communication Officer and Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro, if Kaufman has basis and evidence for his claims, law enforcement authorities should be the first to investigate the alleged drug-related killings. Castro emphasized that the president does not want the campaign against illegal drugs to become violent.
Ang Pangulo, alam po natin, ayaw po ng marahas na paglaban sa illegal na droga. Kung ito po ay mabibigyan ng ebidensya at meron talagang dapat na mapanagot, ang PNP po, CIDG, NBI, kinakailangang mag-imbestiga rito kung mayroong sapat na ebidensya. Hindi po palalagpasin ng Pangulo ang mga abusado.
She challenged those who made the allegations to provide complete details. Castro said that it is the job of investigative bodies, not the president, to look into such accusations.
Hindi po gugustuhin ng Pangulo na mabahiran ang administrasyon na ito ng madugong extrajudicial killing dahil hindi po yan ang kanyang legacy.
She reiterated President Marcos's directive that he does not want a bloody war against drugs. According to Castro, the president consistently upholds due process and the rights of the accused to present their side.
Inaakusahan, hindi po kinakailangang ipapatay agad nang hindi sila nadidinig.
This is KRIZZA Lopez for Eurotv News.
The impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte move forward next week as the Committee on Justice begins its initial deliberations. Lawmakers are set to determine whether the 4 complaints filed against her are sufficient in form and substance before the impeachment process formally advances. Mia Layagin tells us more.
Starting next week, the House of Representatives Committee on Justice is set to open the initial proceedings in relation to the impeachment complaints filed against Vice President Sara Duterte. In a notice of meeting, House Justice Committee scheduled the initial evaluations for all the 4 impeachment raps against Duterte on March 2 to 4, 2026. This is exactly a month after the first 2 impeachment complaints were filed on February 2 after the 1-year bar ruling of the Supreme Court expired. It can be recalled that the House of Representatives have first impeached Duterte last February 5, 2025 after gaining 1/3 of the members' approval. July of the same year, the ST declared the complaints unconstitutional and void, citing violations of due process and of the 1-year bar rule. The decision likewise ruled that a new impeachment proceeding may only be initiated 1 year after. Among the complaints to be tackled by the House panel are the cases filed by progressive groups, civil society leaders, lawyer and clergy group, and of Attorney Nathaniel Cabrera. During the meeting, the panel will determine the sufficiency in form and in substance of one or of all the 4 complaints. This marks the beginning of the House's impeachment process, tackling the complaints and all the grounds of the case one by one. Some of the grounds include constitutional violations, betrayal of public trust, graft and corruption, among others, citing alleged confidential funds misuse. If the committee rules that the complaints are sufficient, the panel shall initiate responsive pleadings and related hearings before crafting a committee report recommending actions for the cases. This report shall be presented with the members of the Congress for voting. If the House pursues the case, it shall be transmitted to the Senate, who will act as the impeachment court that shall rule the final decision on Duterte's impeachment complaint. This is Mia Layagin for Eurotv News.
A drug victims group in Europe has rejected the arguments presented by the camp of former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte on the 3rd day of confirmation of charges proceeding before the International Criminal Court in The Hague. More from this report.
On the 3rd day of the confirmation of charges against former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte before the International Criminal Court in The Hague, Netherlands, Duterte's camp presented its arguments challenging the evidence submitted by the ICC prosecutor and the lawyers of the victims. The group Duterte Panagutin Europe Network insisted that the arguments laid out by attorney Nicholas Kaufman were insufficient and lacked substance. According to the group, the former president's defense focused only on minor details in an attempt to poke holes against the prosecution's arguments and evidence. They also expressed concern over what they describe as attempt to downplay the data on extrajudicial killings after Duterte's defense team argued that the percentage of those arrested and imprisoned was higher compared to those killed. The group said such argument is an insult to the victims and the families left behind who are seeking justice. The Duterte Panagutin Europe Network also criticized the continued questioning of the term neutralized, which they said was being used to suggest legality under self-defense or the absence of a single plan. According to the group, the defense may not realize that arguments anchored on technical distractions could weaken their case. The group expressed confidence that the pre-trial chamber's decision will be based on the strong evidence that the prosecution is prepared to present during the trial. This is KRIZZA Lopez for Eurotv News.
For the 15th time, the Philippines, Japan, and United States conducted a multilateral maritime cooperative activity to deepen comprehensive alliances and strengthen maritime capability. The maritime activity were conducted at the West Philippine Sea and amid continuous territorial disputes in the Indo-Pacific region. Henry Nicolas has more.
The Philippines, Japan, and the United States has reportedly successfully conducted the 15th Multilateral Maritime Cooperative Activity on February 23 to 26 in the West Philippine Sea. This week-long multilateral training demonstrates a more profound level of collaborative activity aimed at strengthening maritime cooperation among the 3 nations. According to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the MMCA features similar activities scheduled throughout the year, involving naval and air assets from the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force and the United States Indo-Pacific Command. The Philippines deployed its assets, including the BRP Antonio Luna with an Embark AW-159 helicopter and the Philippine Air Force aircraft such as FA-50 fighter jets, C-208B, a Tu-9 Super Tucano and the so-called W-3A search and rescue helicopter, Japan utilized its P-3 Orion Maritime Patrol aircraft, while the U.S. deployed the USS Dewey DDG-105 and a P-8A Poseidon. Prior to this, the 14th MMCA was conducted from February 15 to 16 this year, which participated by the Australian Defence Force and Indo-Pacific Command. The exercise included the communications check exercise, maritime domain awareness, replenishment at sea, friendly flight and joint air patrol, flybys, division tactics and officers of the watch maneuvers, photo exercise, and an anti-submarine warfare exercise. A live fire gunnery exercise was also conducted by the BRP Antonio Luna to test its accuracy and targeting capabilities under real-time or real-life maritime conditions. Meanwhile, the Philippine Coast Guard also participated in the exercise by deploying the BRP Gabriela Silang, aiming to further strengthen interoperability and maritime condition or coordination. The PCG stated that the successful 15 MMCA demonstrates their commitment to stabilizing interagency cooperation and improving maritime security and maritime domain awareness. This is Henry Nicolas for Eurotv News.
Coincided with the 77th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between the Philippines and the Republic of Korea, Korean President Ferdinand Marcos also invited President Lee of Korea for a 2-day visit in Manila. The state visit takes place on March 3 to 4 with expected talks on the regional and international issues between both leaders. Here's the report.
For the first time, Republic of Korea President Lee Jae-myung and First Lady Kim Hae-kyung will visit the Philippines from March 3 to 4. According to the confirmation of Presidential's Communications Office Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro, President Marcos and First Lady Luisa Raneta Marcos are set to welcome President Lee and First Lady Kim at Malacanang Palace.
Bilang tugon sa imbitasyon ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Ito ang kauna-unahang pagbisita ni President Lee sa Pilipinas at kauna-unahang state visit matapos maging epektibo ang Free Trade Agreement o FTA sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at Republic of South Korea noong December 31, 2024. Pangungunahan ng Pangulo at ni Unang Ginang Liza Marcos ang pagtanggap kay President Lee at First Lady Kim Hae-kyung sa palasyo ngayong March 3.
The visit of Korean First Family coincides with the 77th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the Philippines and the Republic of Korea. In March 1949, a bilateral meeting between the two leaders is scheduled to discuss defense cooperation, maritime cooperation, economic and development, and people-to-people ties. Marcos and Lee are also expected to exchange views on regional and international issues while emphasizing the deep and vibrant relationship between Manila and Seoul.
Inaasahan ding magkakaroon ng palitan ng pananaw ang dalawang leader hinggil sa usapin sa rehiyon at iba't ibang international issues bilang tugon sa masiglang ugnayan ng dalawang bansa.
Before Korean leaders' state visit, Marcos and Lee had a bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Gyeongju in October 2025. This is ALVIN PELOBELLO for Eurotv News.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has appointed new Environment and Natural Resources Chief as the Chief Executive, reappointed Secretary Rafael Lotilla as the Ambassador of the Philippines to the Vatican City. Mia Layagin brings us the details.
Following last week's reshuffle in National Bureau of Investigation's leadership, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources will now be welcoming its new chief. In a Friday press briefing, Palace Press Officer and Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro announced the reappointment in DENR leadership. Castro said that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has appointed Undersecretary Juan Miguel Cuna as the new acting Secretary of DENR, replacing Secretary Rafael Lotilla. Before this appointment, Cuna first served in the ANR in 2008 as the Provincial Environment and Natural Resources Officer, a position he held until 2010. He then became DNR Director from 2010 to 2015 before his appointment as Assistant Secretary in 2017. On the same year, he was promoted as an Undersecretary. Before his government stint, Cuna was a law professor and served as a Director for Legal Officer of Presidential Legislative Liaison Office from 1998 to 2001.
Upang masiguro ang tuloy-tuloy na operasyon sa DENR, nagpapatuloy ang matiwasay na transisyon sa pagitan ni Secretary Lutilla at Cuna. Samantala, nagpapatuloy naman ang proseso ng pagpasa ng mga pangalan ng acting secretaries para sa kanilang confirmation.
Following the announcement, Castro clarified that the change in leadership is not due to Lutilla's resignation, rather because of his reappointment. Castro said that Lutilla was appointed as the Philippine ambassador to the Holy See, the governing body of the Catholic Church in Vatican City. When asked about the reason of their reappointment in Holy See, Castro said,
Have heard, ang sinabi po ay mas nais ngayon po ni Secretary Lutilla ng lighter assignment. Baka lagi po siya magdarasal.
She added that she has no information on whether this has something to do with his previous appointment bypassed by the Commission on Appointments. Lutilla became DENR Secretary on June 2025, but his appointment was bypassed 3 times after CA failed to act on his nomination before the Congress adjourned in December 2025. Before this DENR stint, Lutilla served as the Energy Secretary since 2022, where he was tied on a criminal complaint before the Ombudsman due to alleged violation of coal moratorium in favor of a power firm where he was a former board member. Until January 30, Malacanang was still reviewing Lutilla's appointment to assure requirement compliance. This is Mia Layagin for Eurotv News.
The proposed measures setting the first ever parliamentary elections in the BARM this September is now awaiting for the final approval in the Senate. Vanessa Cleofas has the report.
The proposed law setting the date for the first ever Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM parliamentary election this September is now awaiting final approval in the Senate. This follows the bill's passage on the second reading by the Senate's House Committee on Appropriations, which was also supported by the senators. It is worth noting that the passage of the BARM election bill was included among 21 priority bills approved by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. during the 3rd Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council or LEDAC meeting in the second week of February. However, prior to this, the scheduled election date has been postponed several times. Originally, the election was supposed to be held in 2022 but was delayed due to the pandemic. It was then rescheduled to May 2025, postponed again to October 2025, then to March 2026, and now it is being pushed for the 5th time to take place this September. The Commission on Elections or COMELEC earlier stated that they would not be able to prepare adequately if the election were held this March, especially following the passage of the Bangsamoro government's redistricting bill. Once the first BARM parliamentary election bill is passed, Majority Leader Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri, who is also the bill's sponsor, recommended that instead of waiting 15 days before it takes effect, it should be implemented immediately to give COMELEC enough time to prepare for the election. On the part of COMELEC, they are requesting an additional 100 million pesos fund for the Department of Budget and Management or DBM. The money will be used for preparation, additional printing of ballots, honoraria for teacher, and an information campaign in Mindanao about the election. Meanwhile, once the BARM election is scheduled for September, COMELEC will require a finalized and complete list of candidates for parliamentary district, political parties, and sectoral organizations to be used in the automated election system to avoid delays in the Commission's work. The proposed law also includes holding the secondary parliamentary election in 2031 to be held simultaneously with the local and national elections. This is Vanessa Cleofas for Eurotv News.
Metro Manila Council President and San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora has met with the University of the Philippines official to strengthen collaboration on the transport system and urban resilience planning. Graciela Corazon has the full report.
urban resilience, and transport system. These are just some of the topics discussed in the meeting held by Metro Manila Council President and San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora with the leadership of the University of the Philippines or UP. The meeting discussed possible solutions and programs that can help the city of Metro Manila. According to Mayor Francis Zamora, the goal is to strengthen the relationship between the local government and academic to develop more effective urban resilience solutions. The discussion also focused on strengthening the initiative of Metro Manila Council in traffic system analysis, transport modeling, flood risk assessment, and disaster resilience planning. The mayor also planned to further strengthen data integration and technical modeling, which can be launched in the traffic and flood resilience framework in the San Juan City as pilot area. The meeting was attended by UP President Angelo Jimenez, UP Resilience Institute Executive Director Mahar Lagmay, and National Center for Transportation Studies Director June Castro. This is Graciela Corazon for Eurotv News.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority and the Valenzuela City Government are strengthening their collaboration to improve public services and emergency response. Catherine Landicho with the details.
Officials of Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA and the Valenzuela City Government met to discuss potential collaborations aimed at enhancing public service delivery. Acting under the directive of MMDA Chairman Don Artes and MMDA General Manager Nicolas Torre III paid a courtesy call to visit Valenzuela City Mayor Wes Gatchalian to explore joint plans and priority projects. During the meeting, Torre and Gatchalian tested the agency's emergencies hotline 136, which guarantees a 5-minute response time. The hotline may be utilized by local government units to ensure faster emergency rescue and response operations. Mayor Gatchalian also presented the city policies and ordinances concerning road management and cleanliness, including its muffler regulation ordinance. He highlighted the significant contributions of the trash traps provided by the MMDA, noting their effectiveness in waste control and flood mitigation. The city continues to coordinate with the agencies for additional equipment in preparations for the upcoming rainy season. The two parties also discussed conducting joint operations under the city's Oplan Linis Ganda, that initiative in partnership with the MMDA's Metro Parkways Clearing Group to strengthen the efforts promoting cleanliness and order in public spaces. Discussions further covered the agency's continued to support in utilizing cities' areas for the development of linear parks and other infrastructure projects. Among these is the Valenzuela Skate and Poe in Barangay Karuhatan, which Torre visited during his inspection. Torre also assessed the current condition of MacArthur Highway as part of the efforts to evaluate traffic flow and the state of major thoroughfares in the city. Both the MMDA and the Valenzuela City Government expressed this gratitude for their partnership and reaffirmed their commitment to sustained cooperation. Also present during the courtesy visit were MMDA Traffic Engineering Center Director Engineer Francisco Pesino. This is Catherine Landicho for Eurotv News.
The government is rolling out emergency employment and livelihood assistance for construction workers affected by project slowdowns. The Department of Labor and Employment says quick response teams and job facilitation programs are being mobilized to help displaced workers find temporary income opportunities. Vanessa Cleophas returns.
In line with President Marcos Jr. directives to help displaced construction workers in the country affected by job displacement as project slowdowns for the past 3 months, the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE is currently making efforts to provide temporary sources of income for construction workers. Among the steps that agency is taking is the acceleration and mobilization of the Quick Response Team, which will assist workers through employment facilitation programs such as DOLE Integrated Livelihood and Emergency Employment, as well as TUPAD and other livelihood programs. According to Dole, the entry of projects in the country's construction industry has slowed down, causing the number of displaced workers to increase. Nevertheless, the agency reported that it continues to coordinate with various local government units for job fairs and other forms of support that can be provided to workers. In fact, as early as December of last year, they had already rolled out the TUPAD program and conducted job fairs with on-the-spot hiring. They are also partnering with the Public Employment Service Officer PESO and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA, which coordinate with both local and international employers. It can be recalled that last year, Senator Risa Hontiveros mentioned during the discussion of DOLE's proposed 2026 budget that more than 100,000 Filipino workers were affected by job displacement. This came after the licenses of several construction companies involved in flood control projects were cancelled. This is Vanessa Cleofas for Eurotv News.
The city government of San Jose del Monte, Bulacan has declared a state of calamity amid worsening water supply shortage affecting dozens of barangays. Local officials say the move will allow the immediate use of calamity funds and expand water distribution efforts while long-term solutions are pursued. Catherine Landicho has the report.
The city government of San Jose del Monte in Bulacan has officially declared a state of calamity due to a severe water supply shortage linked to the service of Prime Water Infrastructure Corporation. Mayor Rita Robes, chairperson of the local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, led the immediate implementation of measures to address the worsening water crisis in the city. Based on the report, the recommendation of the city's Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, at least 62 barangays in several cities has been affected by inadequate water supply. Following the recommendation, the LDRRMC endorsed the declaration, which resulted in the drafting and approval of resolution by Sangguniang Panlunsod, placing the city under a state of calamity. The resolution was spearheaded by Ina Capa, Committee Chairperson on Disaster Risk Reduction and Management, along with other city councilors. According to the city government, the declaration aims to expedite the use of calamity funds, intensify water rotationing operations, and pursue long-term solutions to the water supply problem. Among the measures being implemented is the procurement of additional fire trucks and water lorry trucks to expand water distribution to affected communities while efforts continue to rehabilitate and improve the city's water system. The local government emphasized the declaration is intended to directly address the ongoing crisis involving prime water in the city and to open the possibility for other water concessionaires to step in and manage water services in San Jose del Monte. This is Catherine Landicho for Eurotv News.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirms that the next phase of the U.S.-backed trilateral talks over a 4-year war between Russia and Ukraine are set to begin next month. Son Santiago has the report.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the next round of trilateral talks between Ukraine, Russia, and the United States will most likely take place in March. In a social media update, Zelensky said the announcement followed discussions with Ukraine's chief negotiator Rustem Umerov and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff along with other U.S. officials. Zelensky said there is growing readiness to continue the trilateral format and emphasized the need to finalize agreements that would move negotiations forward at the leaders' level. International reports indicate that the next meeting is likely to be held in Abu Dhabi. His remarks came after the three countries concluded their latest round of talks in Geneva, Switzerland last February 17 to 18. During those discussions, Ukraine's top negotiator Umerov said negotiations covered both political and military tracks, focusing on clarifying mechanisms and identifying possible solutions to the war. Security and humanitarian issues were also part of the agenda. In a recent post on X, Umerov also said preparations are already underway for the next round of talks. He explained that discussions will aim to finalize security parameters and economic decisions that could serve as the foundation for future agreements. He added that the goal is to ensure the next trilateral meeting is as substantive as possible. Meanwhile, Zelensky reported continued violence, saying Russian attacks across 8 regions of Ukraine on Wednesday damaged critical infrastructure and residential buildings. The heightened conflict began in 2022 when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, seeking to seize parts of Ukrainian territory. This is Son Santiago for Eurotv News.
Global K-pop sensation Blackpink has dropped a new music video entitled Go, marking the group's latest comeback. Sam Martos tells us the details.
That's the new music video released by the South Korean girl group Blackpink titled Go. They shared it today on their social media account YouTube, where all 4 members of Blackpink, Jennie, Lisa, Rose, and Jisoo can be seen. Notably, the group performed over 3-minute song entirely in English, aligning with the ongoing strategy among K-pop acts to release English language singles aimed to strengthening global chart performance. As of now, Blackpink's song Go has already reached over 3.3 million views in just 1 hour. Aside from the music video, Blackpink also released their 3rd mini-album. Meanwhile, many of their fans were happy and thrilled to see all 4 members of Blackpink together again in a music video. This is Sam Martos for Eurotv Showbiz News.
And that's the latest news for tonight. You may visit yourtvph.com for more news and information. Once again, I am KRIZZA Lopez.
You may also catch our live broadcast through our social media accounts and via Extreme channel. I'm ALVIN PELOBELLO. Thanks for joining us. This is Eurotv News Thread. Stay safe. Have a good night, everyone. Happy weekend.
Happy weekend,
partner.
Happy weekend.